Saturday, September 7th will be a number 9 for the Jamaica Plain Music Festival. The event brings together an assortment of groups, many of them familiar from local venues indoors. But there's also the feel of the wide open green space at the Pine Bank near Jamaica Pond. To tell us about the event and this year's lineup are the two co-producers, Shamus Moynihan and Rick Berlin. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
I want to start with Rick because you're a performer, you're still at it. So what made you want to get this festival put together 9 years ago?
Because there wasn't one, essentially. You know, it was you make it, they will show up. But there's so many artists and musicians that live or used to live in Jamaica Plain that don't have an opportunity to play in front of a big crowd on a beautiful day. And so we wanted to give them an opportunity, and it's become rather large and wonderful.
Shamus, your roots here go back to the performance venue on Washington Street, the Midway. Rick thinks it's the second coming of the Rat. Describe it for viewers.
I guess the Midway it's a small venue. It's one of the last small little rock clubs in Boston. They do music 7 nights a week. I was bartending and booking shows there back in 2008, 2009. Rick and I were friends for years when he kind of brought the idea to me, and we started together that day and sort of incorporated the contacts we had through me working at the Midway and Rick being a musician. You know, I'm more of the production and business side, and Rick deals with the musicians and that side, and it kind of balances each other out pretty well.
What about the mix? I mean, is this the same thing every night, or do you have different nights? And
at the Midway?
Yes.
Oh, it's something different every night. You could go into the Midway on one night, there's a punk show. The next night, there's a jazz show. The next night, there's burlesque. They do karaoke every Thursday. That's a tradition there. So the Midway is, it's always something different. And that's kind of what we try to do with the festival, is have a little bit of everything.
Now what about your history, Rick? Where do you fit in this spectrum? I'm sure you've been there.
I'm the elderly member by quite many years. No, the thing is, I put on 2 big shows to raise money for AIDS Action Committee, and they were big events, and they were really fun. And that's where I got the idea for 2 stages and stuff. And the other thing is that I actually put on a big event in '04 to try and bump Bush out of the White House, and that was at Bella Luna. And so I kind of had a feel for it, but I was kind of seat of your pants, and I'm more of an artist, and Shamus brings all this really smart dealing with the city and all of the permits and all of this other stuff that I would really fail at. So as Shamus says, we kind of balance each other out, but then there are all the other people on the committee that are extraordinary, all of the small business owners in JP, and then this huge bunch of volunteers on the day of that make it all happen. So, as Shamus might say, we get too much credit for what we do. It's really everybody. It's really the hood itself.
Shamus, I also want to take this outdoors because, you know, going into a club, whether it's the Rat or the Midway, that's one kind of atmosphere. When you're at the Pine Bank, it's different. So explain it for people who haven't experienced this yet.
It's basically a big, wide open field. It's used as a baseball field, a soccer field. There used to be an old house up there that had some kind of historical value, but it burnt down. They knocked it down years ago. It's when you're driving down the Jamaica Way, you see the big bowl. They call it the Sugar Bowl, where all the kids go sliding in the wintertime. At the top of that, there's a big, wide open field. And if you go up there, it's literally just a big, wide open field. And we transform that on the day of into a festival. We bring the 2 stages in, we bring the food trucks in, we bring the kids area in, we bring merch tables in, and sort of transfer this quiet little park into a big daytime public festival.
And I think maybe the biggest bike magnet I've ever seen.
Oh, the bike, yes. Every year we have to get more and more bike racks, because that was the thing. There's no bus stop right near there. It's a couple blocks away, so everybody rides their bike down. And we did like the barricades you see at the parades. We link those together and use those as bike racks. But the first year we think we needed about triple of what we got. People were locking bikes in trees, and so that's a big one every year.
Rick, one thing that occurs to me is that if you play at a club, you get the kind of crowd that likes your music. But at this event, you've got these bands who might have played different nights in different places. Talk about the mix.
Well, it's a tough thing to choose who plays. Shamus and I go through it like A&R people and try to not be cynical about it, but you want to balance out the genres and so many different things. But what's great about it is that they all have to play original music. So you've got 1,500 and over the day, maybe 6,000 people going through the gate and watching this. They're all hearing songs they've never heard before, and not cover songs, not some big band from LA. And it's a tremendous thing to have respect for music that nobody knows. And the fans and the families and the kids and the dogs, they just flock to it. It's beautiful.
Now, how do you discipline people? I've hardly ever been to a concert where somebody didn't come up with some old standard because they thought, oh, they'll all love this. I mean, you're really strict.
We've had issues, but we work to suppress them about cover songs, yes.
And the sets are only 20 minutes, so that's the thing. You want to, as a band, you want to show your best in that 20 minutes. If you have 4 great songs, you want to show off in that time. And the thing about the 20-minute sets is we think all the bands are great, but if there's something you don't particularly like, a genre or whatever, wait 20 minutes, there'll be something else on the next stage.
Now, one of the other things I noticed you seem to have gotten down pat pretty well is that you got multiple stages, so when one band shuts down, the other band's ready to go. I mean, how do you make that work?
We have a very talented crew of volunteers and employees, well, the employees of the sound company. We have Dana Falloon that comes in, and we have stage managers, John and TJ, and we have clocks on the stages. We drill it. Rick mostly deals with the musicians, and I deal with the other stuff, but he drills it into their head. Practice for 18 minutes, you get 20, and that's it.
The cool thing is that while you're playing on the other stage, the next band is getting ready. So as soon as it's done, they're ready to go. That's the advantage of 2 stages.
One of the other things here I'm always intrigued by are the names of the band. You got some crazy names, don't you?
For example.
Oh, well, Diablo Gato for
one of our favorites, yeah.
And I mean, some other things here, or something like Muhammad 7 or something like that, or
yes, Muhammad 7. Yep, this is the first time they're playing this year, so we're excited about them.
I mean, well, what is it about these names? I mean,
You'd have to ask the bands
yes.
themselves. But we choose the bands based, hopefully, on a live video of them performing live. You can hear wonderful recordings of bands, but it doesn't tell you what they're going to be like, kind of in an awkward situation. How will they sound? Are they as good as they sound on record? That's our primary resource, is watching YouTube videos of bands playing live. And then beyond that, it's how different are they? Can we space them apart so what you hear at A stage changes with B, and then back and forth as much as possible.
Shamus, what about picking the bands? I mean, Rick made it sound like you spend some time, you're looking at all these videos, you're really vetting things?
We do. We spend a lot of time, and it's definitely the hardest part. We get over 100 applications of bands every year for about 20 spots, and Rick and I lock ourselves in his room.
Why do you get so many?
Everybody wants to play. I mean, it's a great festival. The bigger we get every year, the more applications we get every year, the more people hear about us. And I mean, it's hard because you have to say no to a lot of good people because there's only so much room, but you want to get the right variety. You can't have the same thing for 7 hours, same type of music. So.
And I've been told no before, so I know it hurts.
Yes,
you know?
And it's hard to say no to talented people, and it's hard to say no to your friends. A lot of our friends apply, and it's just like, we can't have you this year. You know, please try again next year. It's nothing personal, but
it's not perfect.
We listen to every band, we watch every video, over 100 of them, and we usually go in 3 stages: cut out a first group, cut out a second group, and then sort of wean it down to the final 20.
Rick, what makes you want to play in an event like this? What made you want to play at this event? Because you have other opportunities to play. You can play at the club, and you know.
Me personally?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a tremendous sounding thing. So many of our friends are out there, and you feel, you know, in the old days there was the channel, and you were a nobody band, and you could play the channel in front of, 500 people. It was a huge, big-ass stage, wonderful speakers, lights and sound, and you felt like you weren't wasting your time, and this is another example and an opportunity to do that. I mean, my band can't always play. It really looks weird if I play every show, and we don't. But it just really, you're so proud of the event itself, of the people that work it, of the fans, all the other bands that get a chance to see you. There's 20 bands can see what you're doing, and back and forth, that's a great thing.
Shamus, so talk about the audience, because I've seen a whole spectrum of what people do there. Some of them, they're seriously into relaxation. Definitely. And at the other end of the spectrum, there are some people, they just tap the energy of the music and they go crazy.
I think that's the best part, is sort of watching the people. Sometimes when a band's playing, I'll sneak up on the back of the stage in the corner and just watch the crowd. And it's everyone, young, old, little kids running around. It's a good mix of all kinds of people, and it's a 7-hour festival. So some people spend the whole day. They are there at noon with their picnic blankets and their coolers and their picnic baskets, and they spend the whole day right there in front of the stage. some people come down because they want to see a certain band, and then they go up to one of the restaurants or bars that, I mean, luckily have sponsored us to help us put this thing on. Maybe grab something to eat up there, come back. So you can come and go, or you can spend the whole day, and we have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff for kids, so we try to make it a good time.
Rick, I know people in Jamaica Plain, a lot of them will walk or take the bike, but for people who don't live that close, what should they know about getting there, or maybe what should they avoid doing if they're on their way?
Parking is tough. I'd advise. I mean, you can park away from the festival and walk up. It's a beautiful walk. Moraine Street's a good choice, for example. But I would say that it's best to take public transportation, ideally.
Right. And Shamus, finally, you've got a website with more details about who's playing, and one more time on the hours.
jpmusicfestival.com, and it is noon to 7 on September 7th, Saturday.
Thank you both very much, Shamus Moynihan and Rick Berlin.
Thank you.
The JP Music Festival.
Next
Thank you very
year,
much.
10th anniversary.
The 10th. We'll have more news in just a moment.